The subject of today's video is primarily known for one specific thing. We shall not mention that one specific thing at all. That being said, Lafayette Ronald Hubbard was an American writer. He was born in 1911 in Tilden, Nebraska, the son of Harry Ross Hubbard and Adora May Waterbury. After possibly faking myopia to avoid joining a naval academy, he went to Woodward School in D.C. as those graduating would be admitted to George Washington University without an exam. He did so, but after organizing a university trip that went so poorly the passengers burned an effigy of Hubbard, he decided not to come back to university next year. In 1933 he married Margaret Polly Grubb. In 1934 he began writing for pulp magazines, writing hundreds of stories between 1934 to 1940, especially under editor John W. Campbell. He joined the United States Naval Reserve in 1941, spent 68 hours having a submarine fire at a magnesium deposit he mistook for an enemy sub, then was relieved of command for firing on Mexican territory a month later. In 1947 he divorced his first wife, marrying Sarah Northrop Hollister, whom he divorced in 1951. In 1952 he married his assistant Mary Sue Whipp. During the 1950s and onwards, Hubbard did certain things which we shall not go into detail about, and died of a stroke in Creston, California in 1986. We will review his 1938 final Blackout, another entry on Karl Edward Wagner's list of 39 best horror novels. The book takes place in an unspecified future time where World War II had been going on for decades. Most of Europe is a blasted, looted wilderness, with either no governments existing, or those that do being violently removed on a frequent basis. The main character is the nameless lieutenant, who is serving as a field officer in France, trying to survive a lack of supplies by looting ancient fortresses full of skeletons for their mouldy cans and tins, as well as avoiding contracting the soldiers' sickness, a group of several different illnesses which is almost fatal and which together with destructive famine has rendered Europe a wasteland. We see the lieutenant out with a band of Russians seeking fertile soil and meeting Captain Malcolm, an old friend from headquarters, who came to tell him to go back to HQ, where, unbeknownst to the lieutenant, he will be relieved of his command in secret, a command Malcolm wants for himself. Along the way, the lieutenant comes to a village where he immediately kills a man, whose second wife Greta takes a great liking to him as a result. He also finds 30 soldiers enslaved by the villagers, so he has his men give them rifles as they leave to take over the village themselves. If you think this is what the book will be like, or that Greta will have any importance given her role in the story, no. This is the only time the book is like this, and the only time the lieutenant is being malicious. Arriving at the British Army's French HQ, the lieutenant is relieved of his command and imprisoned with 2 other dispossessed officers, Swinburne and Carstairs. The lieutenant's men then kill Captain Malcolm when he tries to take over command, mutiny against General Victor of French HQ, and with other field soldiers leave the fort for Britain, whose communist government has refused them a right to return before. There is some back and forth shelling on the Thames, then they march on the Tower of London and take hold of Comrade Hogarth and kill him. The lieutenant takes over England and refuses to let anyone restore any industry, and everyone is happy they have to do everything like before the Industrial Revolution. Also, the lieutenant forcibly marries farmers to multiple women against said farmers' will, and there are no politicians, just the army, which totally doesn't line up with the book's adoration of a dictatorial military strongman. No fascist overtones here. Then a bunch of Americans show up, demand to force the unemployed on England in the guise of charity. Again, no political views on display here. Then when the lieutenant refuses, they want to invade England to make General Victor from France ruler instead. The lieutenant agrees, resigns, and kills Victor and gets himself killed. The book is not boring, but at times things go on way too fast, like the seizure of England. There is also almost no horrific imagery, so why the deuce Wagner put this on the list, I have no idea.